We have been working on building a fence. This is the one side. There's Miss Hannah. These are 5-inch peeler cores, and I've got about 100 pounds of concrete, 75 pounds of concrete mixed with stones, about this size, and so they're in there pretty well. It's 50 pounds at the end of the pole, and then we put 6-foot by 5-foot gates on each side. Yeah, there's some of those rocks. A lot of this is still settling. I'm sure I could put a fence on it now, but I'm not going to, because I don't want to take the chance of ripping that out and it being a huge fucking deal. Yeah, here's the other corner. It goes down through here. It's a little shy of 300 feet worth of fencing, so we still got to fill holes in, so I'll probably do that sometime this week. And another corner. These aren't exactly straight, but it's because the fencing is going to come down. It's going to be on the inside. The fence is going to be on the inside. It's going to come down, go around this corner post, and then go to this post. So that's why these are kind of offset, so that this can be in there. Like that's in there. But yeah, that's what it's looking like. We got a little bit of leveling out to do. I gotta do that sometime and make sure we can get fencing through it, because right now this is a mess and I need to get it so that it'll go straight. Here's the other gate that's going to be in, and then this existing gate, or this existing fence, thinking about leaving, and then if I'm doing something back here, the dogs won't be in the way, and then I can have this gate open, keep the dogs back there. It'll just work a little bit better. But that's what it's like so far. Gotten a lot of help with it from the neighbors, from friends. It's made this a lot easier. This is the fencing that we got. Horse fence. This is 100 feet long, 5 foot tall. Keep the dogs in. And these are Amanda's raised beds. And yeah, those rolls are about 150 pounds a piece. So it's going to be fun putting them in. But we're going to have a tractor and come along so it can stretch them out. It'll work real nice. Okay, the fence is done. All done. We got a 5 foot by 6 foot gate. And I put 2 of these in. They are about 170 a piece. This is actually April 2025, so that's kind of important because of how much everything has increased. These are 5 foot or 5-inch by 8 foot peeler cores, and these are treated. They're about $22 a piece, and these are just some extra posts the neighbor had that he gave me. But this is a 5 foot by 100 foot horse no climb fence, and they're stapled in with a air powered stapler, which made it really nice. But got everything pretty much cleared out of the way. Need to go through here, clean all this up, which I'm going to start doing here in a little bit. And each post has at least 75 pounds of concrete, and those were about $5, $6 a bag, $6 a bag. And then stone, which the neighbor, he had more than enough stone to help fill these holes. And these holes are 2 foot deep and about 9 inches in diameter, so plenty of weight. And these supports are in 50 pounds of concrete, so that whichever way I pulled, and you can see the fence goes around the back side so that it could be pulled in either direction. And so these are in place real nice and sturdy. And then I lag bolted them in, and what I did to get these kind of the same for height is I put a C-clamp underneath it, and then when I drilled the holes, nothing moved, and it stayed in place, and then I could drill everything in. And the lag bolts, I think they're about 5 inches, 5 or 6 inches, and so they go in real nice. And you know, stapled on the back side, on each side, and then it runs back on the inside, and you can see stapled on the bottom, and another one, another, and another, and holds real nice. There are some areas I'll need to kind of fill, keep the dogs in. The dogs don't dig, so it's nice. And there's a little bit of change in topography by, you know, a couple inches, maybe a foot, but nothing crazy. And you know, once again, the poles, nice heavy posts, and then goes back down. It was fun snaking the fence through that little gap, which I gotta come through here. I gotta get the chainsaw out and sharpen it so I can chop these down. And the burn piles where the concrete bags are, and runs right along. And the corner posts and the post where everything's anchored, there's about 100 pounds of concrete in these ones, so it makes them nice and tough. But there's Virgil. But everything turned out real well. Took us about an hour and a half to get all this stapled in, but I'm gonna get some of this cleaned up a little bit, and then start working on what we want to do for the garden. Just want to do last little bit on this video on what everything cost. So the fence itself, you know, the wiring and everything, that was around 800 bucks. And then the poles, those are also around $800, give or take. You know, tax and everything for those two, around $800. Concrete, that was around 600 bucks. I got just around, I think, you know, probably 50 bags, I think. I can't exactly remember, but I know it was right around $600 for all the concrete. The stone, I don't know. The neighbor had a bunch of stone left over from when he did a bunch of landscaping around his house. So he just said, you know, use the stone that's left over. And so that was really nice. And he also had he's got a post hole digger that he can attach to the back of his John Deere. So that was pretty cool to use. And then the gates, those are around $350 for both gates. And then also just extra tools. I think I spent around $100 just for extra tools. And yeah, so that's everything that I spent on this.
And then, whatever, if you can get better prices on that for when you do one, then, great. But like I said, earlier in this video, it was, it was April of 2025 when I made the fence. But yeah, if you have any questions on anything that I did with it, just go ahead and, write down below and ask a question, and I might be able to help you out. But I think like the one tool that I needed, I bought a 36-inch, 48-inch level so that I can make sure the poles are straight. And I also bought a Maddox so that I could, level the ground out and, hit through roots, things like that. And neighbor let me use a spud bar or, a big tank bar so I could bust up rocks. I had one big rock that I had to deal with, and I managed to bust that up and get it out of there. But thanks for watching the video, and I will get this uploaded and put together, and then you can see what I did. But all right, thanks.